All right. Good evening. We are live a little later than normal. I had poker night tonight with the guys, so unfortunately, I'm here, and I say that in a good way, but in a bad way because I didn't win. Normally, I cash, but didn't work out so well for us tonight. So that's okay because that just means we were here to win an Underdog Puppy 2 tournament, and I'm okay with that. If you're stopping by, I just want to say thanks for joining. This is Main Event Fantasy. My name is Nick, or AKA Perfect 216. I am a fantasy football lover, appreciator. I love content like you guys do. If you're here, that means you really enjoy this. We've got some news to talk about. We've got Rashee Rice. He's going to jail. So it means he's going to drop, and we're going to have a little bit of fun talking about that tonight. I will not be drafting him at all. At least not right now until I see where he falls. We'll let the board tell us what's going to happen. If you're new to our channel or you see these videos at all, I would really, really appreciate it if you would like the channel, subscribe, hit the notification bell. I try and go live, daily around 10 p.m. Central Time, give or take, after the kids go to bed for an hour and a half. And so if you're at night, you can't sleep, hanging out, and you just like fantasy football, you like talking about it, you like drafting, and you want to know what's going on with Underdog Fantasy and best ball drafts, I can help you with that. So give us a like, subscribe, notification. We're just here to have a good time. So with that being said, let's see where we're at. We're doing a Puppy 2 draft right now. The winner of the Puppy 2 gets $100,000. I kind of shared that briefly on screen, talked about it in the last stream a little bit more. So we're looking to win that for sure. So for those of you who are wondering, hey, why am I listening to this guy? Oh, we get to pick 11. I like it. That'll work. We'll see what happens here. If you're new to this, if you don't know what Underdog Fantasy is or best ball drafting is, I will explain it to you. So best ball is, if you like drafting, best ball's for you. If you want to do a lot of drafts, but you don't want to manage all your teams because you don't have time. Managing teams is hard. I have redraft leagues, your regular home leagues, and that's fine. We play that with friends. It's a great time. Best ball, you draft your team, and the best team every week plays and gets you points. You do not have to manage your thing. So you draft it and you're done. You'll get 18 picks, and how it works is every week one quarterback plays, 2 to 3 running backs plays, because you get 2 running backs for sure, plus you have a flex option. 3 wide receivers will play, potentially 4 if you use the flex as a wide receiver, and then 1 tight end plays. So usually you'll see a team on average 3 quarterbacks, 5 running backs, 7 wide receivers, and 3 tight ends. It's a pretty balanced way to do it, but I oftentimes lean towards just 2 quarterbacks. That way I can put that extra, pick into a receiver or a running back. Saquon Barkley goes. A lot of people believe in the Madden curse. Then you would not want to draft Saquon Barkley this year. I don't want to say I believe in it, but Saquon's a great running back and a great offense. I don't think they'll be as run heavy, but he's going to score a lot of points this year still, as long as he stays healthy. So I'm still grabbing some of him. Maybe not as much as I should have probably last year, but I am grabbing a good amount. So I don't feel guilty or bad at all when he falls to me. McCaffrey goes at 7. When I first started drafting this season, I drafted in April and May, and McCaffrey was going in the 2nd round, and now he's up to the 1.7, 1.8 range. So it's kind of crazy where he's risen. But now you just want to take the guys that fall. So all right, 111, Nico Collins goes. So we got Amon-Ra, Brian Thomas. These are all good. I'm good with Amon-Ra here. He's going to be a target hog probably still in Detroit. Jared Goff likes him. It'll be interesting to see now that they have a new offensive coordinator, how this plays out in Detroit. But love a team that plays a lot of dome games, means the weather's good. So I'm okay with that. Good offense. Brian Thomas goes. So I'm going to pass on Derrick Henry. I explained this last time why, because I got a lot of him in later in the second round, earlier on. So I'm going to actually go Drake London. I've been getting more Drake London lately. I didn't get a lot of him, but I do feel like this could be a breakout year. I really, really like Achane as well. So I don't think you can go wrong there. I don't think Henry's a bad pick in the second round. However, when you really look at the board, Henry's going here, 13, 14, 15, 16. I've seen people taking him in the back half of the first round. I was getting him over here, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. And these are going to be more unique starts now. If the majority of drafters are going to start drafting now and into August, they're going to be getting him over here, where I was getting him over here. So the combinations are going to be a little bit more unique. So I'm less inclined to get him, because if I have the choice between Achane and Henry, I kind of lean Achane. And that's simply because I think his offense, his profile can be more explosive. He is a pass catching running back. Henry catches a little, but not the same. Henry is, I think he's 32 going into this year. Achane still going into his peak potentially. So Henry could be coming down. Achane could be going up. I'm not going to fault anyone for taking Henry. I just think that, I'm going to still try and get Henry when he falls to me in like 17, 18, 19 range. So flipping around to the third round. If you notice, Rashee Rice is not been taken yet. If you didn't hear the news today, so they did convict him. I'm actually going to pull it up here in a second, and we'll go over what the report is. But he's going to get 30 days of jail time. He's going to have 5 years of probation, and depending on what the actual conviction was, what charge he pled guilty to, because he did plead guilty to a charge, the NFL will then decide, depending on how their policies work, how much time he'll be suspended and when that takes place. It'll probably be this year where the suspension happens, which is why he's going to fall. And if it is an assault and battery, type of charge that he pled guilty to, the average time missed is 6 weeks. So that means he's going to plummet pretty good. And for me, I have not taken a lot of Rashee Rice, and he's continued to rise up draft boards. So I think it's great for a guy who has gotten a lot of Xavier Worthy and Travis Kelce this year. It just makes my decisions there where I've been picking that much sweeter. So I'm thrilled with that. I'm gonna go Lamar. I don't have that much Lamar. Seems like I'm not with quarterbacks. I tend to not reach on my quarterbacks. I'll let them fall to me and take the values and correlate them later. I'm not much of a go and grab them early guy, because so many drafts you're going to have people falling. And like, if I have Lamar Jackson and I get him at 35 and someone else gets him a round or 6, 8 picks earlier, and that goes for any quarterback, then my advantage is that I have him in a better position than we'll take Kyron here. I have him in a better position with a better combination that's rarer than someone who reached on him that wouldn't have that other player in the second round. So definitely value there. So 4 picks in, we've started with Amon-Ra St. Brown at wide receiver with Drake London, Kyron Williams at running back, and Lamar Jackson as our quarterback. Nothing special here. No real giant drops. Everybody really at ADP. I actually reached just a smidge on Drake London. A couple of ADP picks in value in Kyron, but nothing crazy. Same thing with Lamar. So nothing that crazy to start us out. DJ Moore goes. Pickens goes. DJ Moore is an interesting one. I've got a ton of Rome. I'm probably well overweight Rome right now. I might even need to chill on him because I like Rome, but I don't know if I like him as much as I've been drafting him. My most drafted player, and I have drafted well over 300 teams so far this year. I will definitely end up drafting over 600 teams probably by the time we're all said and done, maybe even more than that. But my most drafted player is Travis Kelce because of where he was going. Now with Rashee Rice getting suspended, the floor for Travis Kelce goes up even more. People are going to start drafting him earlier, and I already have 30% of my teams with Travis Kelce, which means I'm totally reaping the benefits. I love it when news comes out and it benefits the way I've drafted so far. And so that's a great time. Jameson Williams goes at 51. We are starting to swing back around. Kenneth Walker goes. With us, with a one quarterback, one running back, two wide receiver build, we're pretty even. I do like to get out of my first 7 picks 4 wide receivers if I can. So I'm probably going to lean wide receiver, but I'm not opposed to letting values fall to me. Ideally, we want to stack our quarterback with some of their pass catchers as the draft goes on. So Zay Flowers is really my target here. We'll see if he comes back around. He's not usually a guy that people really want to reach for unless they have Lamar. So it's possible he gets there. And that would be kind of best case scenario for us. So we're 2 picks away. Heath Jones and Fanta Playa. Let's hope Fanta doesn't take him. And he left it for us. So this worked out perfectly. It couldn't be any better. We are going to grab Zay Flowers to pair him up with Lamar Jackson. I love it when a plan comes together. About a 4-pick ADP difference here. When you look at the average draft position in drafts, you really want to care more about the value in ADP earlier than later. The later the draft goes, the less the ADP matters. So if you can get a guy like Zay Flowers 4, 5, 6 picks further out, that's great. You take advantage of that. So we're on the clock here. I like James Conner, 61. I mean, there was no real huge ADP fallers. I do like Olave here. I'm going to get a 4th receiver. I like the running back values a little bit better as the draft goes on, whereas the wide receivers I feel like fall off pretty quickly after about round. I mean, really, once you get past really around 8, I would say there's a small cliff in my mind after Khalil Shakir and Diggs, and then you get a little bit of these guys feel okay, and then Cooper Kupp, Jaden, and then after Higgins, it just falls off, and that's why I keep getting so much Kelce because he's going around 100. So unless I'm getting running back needs or I happen to have some needs at quarterback here, I mean, Travis Kelce to me is just still, I hope he stays right here and I will be smashing him every time. I feel like people are writing him off. I mean, look at this. Look at his stats. So everyone was taking him first, second round, the last 3-4 years. And I don't know what happened there. And because he had kind of a down season last year, he still had 133 targets, 97 receptions. His touchdowns were down, and his yards were down a little bit. I don't, if you're going to go from a round 1, 2 guy to a round 9, 10, 11 guy, yeah, that's a bit of a fall that I don't think is necessary. I mean, it's just so much farther. Like he should be up here with Hawkinson. He should be, up here with Laporta, who just went at 74. Like, I just feel like the value is so strong. So let's turn this around here. Jerry Jeudy goes to 75. Oops. One quick second. My cat was trying to jump in on me here. She does that sometimes and leaves the door open, and I don't want my kids freaking out when they hear Dad, talking at, almost midnight. Don't need that. Shakira goes. I really like how our team is shaped up so far. All right, Montgomery goes. So we've got some options here. We can go wide receiver. I don't have a lot of Josh Downs. I like him. I think we'll do Josh Downs, and then we'll see what comes back to us at running back. None of these quarterbacks stack with us right now. A lot of people are in on Josh Downs. I'm not as in as others. I don't think the offense is going to be that great. I think they want to run first. It depends on who the quarterback's going to be. There's a controversy there. I don't know. I think he's okay where he's getting picked at. I don't think the risk is too high. We're going to take Aaron Jones here, add to the running back room, get our second running back. So far we've got Lamar Jackson at quarterback, Kyren Williams, and Aaron Jones at the running back position. Amon-Ra St. Brown, Drake London, Zay Flowers, who pairs up with our quarterback, Lamar Jackson, Chris Olave, and Josh Downs. So I'm happy with the team so far. No crazy values. It usually feels to me when you're drafting teams, if you get those values and some of those unique starts, you get more excited about the draft and your team, about the chances of you winning, because the more unique your team is, if those are the guys you needed, come the playoff weeks 15, 16, 17, then it's less likely anybody has what you have. A little bit of a run on some of these wide receivers with Keon Coleman, Mooney, and Kupp. Homer goes Dobbins. Dobbins keeps rising. I'm not sure that I like where he's at right now. I mean, Judkins is falling because of the news with him about being arrested in Florida on battery. I guess it's not bad. I just feel like Judkins, maybe Mason, maybe, but like Jaylen Warren, Etienne, I just kind of like these guys better. But I don't. As the running backs start to come up here, Scatabo, Charbonnet, Najee, Ramondre, like Spears, I'm okay with any of these guys, which is maybe why I don't like to get too aggressive on running backs that early. Because if you look at it, when you start getting down here, Rashid Shaheed I like, but like you start to get down to receivers where they're a little more risky, where some of these other guys, these running backs and these quarterbacks, are a little more sure to get you the points that you need. It really depends on how you feel about players. And if you like your player takes, go with your instinct. I mean, the rule of thumb when you're drafting best ball is you really need to draft like you're right. Every draft is the winning draft. If you think Kyren Williams is the number one running back and you drafted him there, you have to draft like he's the guy, and assume that you drafted correctly. All right, we're coming around to 107. Sorry. Kelsey went at 103 again. Another nice value. I really, really, really hope he doesn't continue to go up with the Rashee Rice news. And I might even be saying that wrong. I mean, I call him Rashee Rice, but some people Rashee Rice. Judkins 105. I feel like he's going to end up sitting around that 105 area with where things kind of fall for him. We're going to grab Mark Andrews, our first tight end. He also stacks with Lamar. So now we have a double stack with Lamar with Zay Flowers and Mark Andrews. That feels good. We could really do an onslaught here of Baltimore and take Rashad Bateman. I don't normally do that, but I'm not opposed to it. I like Rashid Shaheed. If the value is more, maybe I go there. But let's have some fun. Yeah, right. Well, I mean, we're supposed to draft like we're right. So if Lamar Jackson's the guy you need, and he's going to go nuclear in the playoffs, I've got his main pass catchers. So if it's Zay Flowers in week 15, Rashad Bateman in week 16, and Mark Andrews week 17, whatever that is, then we've got the key. We got to figure it out. We're winning Best Ball Mania. Well, actually, in this case, we're winning the puppy too. Oops, my phone's dying here. If you're just joining now, or you're just kind of taking a look at, you happen to be on the stream, just to share again what we do. This is Underdog Fantasy. This is where we draft every night. We love it. With Underdog, these are best ball drafts, no time commitment during the season. You just draft, and it automatically sets your lineup. Best way to do it. If you love drafting teams, Underdog is the place I like to do it. There are a lot of people drafting, a lot of different types of drafts for everybody, different dollar entry amounts. I just have a ton of fun. I think you will too. And this is a place I think you want to be. If you wouldn't mind, if you are enjoying some of this, you want to come draft with us, please subscribe, hit the notification bell. I am usually on around 10 o'clock, like I said earlier, Central Time, between 10 and midnight. And just here to talk, have a good time, talk football, talk sports, talk fantasy football, talk about whatever you want. You want to talk about Donald Trump, being diagnosed today? Fine. Come on board. You want to talk about wrestling? Come on. Let's just have some fun. But I definitely love talking about fantasy football. All right, so we're coming back around. Hollywood Brown goes. I can see Hollywood Brown as another guy who, if Rashee Rice news and his suspension comes out, could rise in cost. So I'm going to get some of him more probably before he goes up in cost. But maybe he won't. I don't want to be too aggressive on him. I like him, but I don't like him that much. I don't have a ton of him, but I kind of want a little bit more right now until I figure out what's going on. Lawrence goes to Hef Jones. Harris goes. I was looking at Harris. I kind of liked him. I was thinking he might be the guy. We don't have Herbert. We don't have Chargers players. I'll take a shot at Javonte Williams. Maybe another year removed from his injury is enough to, be what you need from him to be a really valid, weapon for you. A lot of people are in on Tuden. I'm not huge in him. I'm actually going to go Ray Davis here. Get our fourth running back. So far we've got Lamar Jackson at quarterback, Kyron Williams, Aaron Jones, Javonte Williams, Ray Davis at running back, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Drake London, Zay Flowers paired up with Lamar, Chris Olave, Josh Downs, Rashad Bateman, who's also paired up with Lamar, and Mark Andrews. So we've really got a Baltimore onslaught. Baltimore plays, I think it's Green Bay. I memorized the schedule for the most part, and I'm right, in week 17. Week 17 is, people say week 17 is all that matters, and there's a little bit of a debate there. But in the reality, week 17 is the money week. You can get to the playoffs, but week 17, is where you're going to win real money. And, that's ultimately what you're trying to, play for the high side. I'm not playing to just get there. I'm playing to win the whole thing. So, we will want, if there's, I think Romeo Dobbs down here might come around, which if week 17 comes around, you want Baltimore, Green Bay. I want a couple of Green Bay guys, right? Or at least one. If Romeo Dobbs goes off in that game and Lamar goes nuclear and throws to a guy or two here, then we have the combination. If that is the highest scoring game of the week, those are the guys you needed, it's higher risk, but it's also higher reward. And if you look at the history of Best Ball Mania, Best Ball drafts, correlating week 17, stacking your quarterback with one or two, sometimes three pass catchers is always the ideal way for people to draft. It's not the only way, but it is an ideal way. And like I said, when you get further down in the drafts, we're talking about later in the rounds, you can scroll a little further down. You won't see me scroll this far down when you're in the first 10 rounds, but when you're in round 13, 14, all the way through 18, you can kind of get your guys a little bit. Don't get too crazy until you get to maybe rounds 16 through 18, but you get a little bit more wiggle room there. We will need another quarterback. And I think the only two coming up are going to be New Orleans and Indy that we currently have, available to stack with, unless we come up with something here soon. But I think y'all know I want to get Romeo Doubs here. Last year, there was interviews and people talking about how Jordan Love said, he's my guy, constantly, like he was his number one. And where he's going in drafts, I mean, even if he's going to be our wide receiver 7. So if he is a wide receiver 7 who performs like a wide receiver 3, he immediately pays off well over where he's being drafted, hits our lineup enough, could be what we need in week 17 to win it all. I mean, it just works out really good. It's a great decision. And we got lucky. He's going to fall right in our laps. So it worked out perfectly. I do realize that if you're watching this and you're seeing how things are just falling well for me, that's not always how it works. You're going to get sniped plenty of times. So don't think it always works this easy. So we need probably Indy and New Orleans. All right, we're on the clock. I can scroll on down. I keep getting a lot of this guy. I'm going to go Jalen Wright as my 5th running back. They say he's lost a lot of body fat during the offseason. I mean, he's already been like lightning. Like, we know he's fast. He can catch the ball. He showed flashes last year. If A-Chain gets hurt on a good offense in Miami, he could be extremely explosive. They don't have oh gosh, why am I drawing a blank all of a sudden on his name? We're going to scroll down and find him so I don't look like a fool. Raheem Mostert, thank you. They don't have Raheem Mostert anymore. So he's up. He's next. He's shown he can handle it. If Miami felt that he wasn't ready, they wouldn't have let him go. They would have kept him and Jalen Wright if they didn't think Wright was good enough to be the 2. Or the 1A, 1B, depending on how they want to run him. Scroll this around. Wan'Dale Robinson goes 164. McMillan at 165. When you get this late in the draft, I tend to try and look at least from the wide receiver perspective, where are they at in the depth chart? Wan'Dale Robinson could be the 2 or the 3. McMillan's going to be the 4. So unless an injury happens, which could happen, and someone misses time, he'll still get some snaps, but his snap count's going to be way less theoretically than Wan'Dale, who's going to be more of a every down guy, or could potentially have an every down role or higher percentage of snaps because he's going to be the 3. McMillan's going to be the 4 because they have Mike Evans, they have Godwin, who's back if he's healthy, and then they drafted Emeka Egbuka. So even if they face him in and McMillan's the guy in the beginning of the season, there could probably be a shift there. And so, when you're drafting the slate, you're looking for some upside. Unless you have Baker to pair him with, then that stack makes sense. Or the week 17 bring back. Wan'Dale seems like he's the right guy, to pick there. And if we look, he does not have Baker. Baker actually went to Homer, and Homer took K. Dotton to stack with his quarterback. So I'm just not sure. That's why I liked Jalen McMillan last year. I had a good amount of him, but I don't have a lot here. I try not to draft guys that are number 4s on teams. I'm looking for guys that they're number 1, they're X receivers, they're number 2s, or they're slot receivers who are twitchy, get a lot of, pass heavy offenses. Those things make more sense. All right. Let's probably go tight end here. There's some good values in tight end. I think Gesicki's going to catch a lot. He's in a high-powered offense. I do want to leave a spot here for – how many more picks do we have left? Make sure I get this right. I got 3 more. I know I'm going to need a quarterback, and I think I know where I'm going with it. So I'm just going to go get the quarterback here to continue with what I'm doing here. I'm going to take Tyler Shuck. You assume when you draft Lamar Jackson as high as he is, you're assuming he's getting majority of your points and he's who you need. So I don't feel bad getting Shuck here. I would have really liked if we could have got like Jared Goff with him, or really Michael Penix, because he's a little bit further down. I would have liked to stack London instead, but it didn't fall our way. And like I said earlier, I really don't encourage people to, you can make these stacks work without having to go find them and forcing it. When you force it, you're giving up too much value. And again, I want to win. So I don't want to give up value to do it. I'd rather let the value come to me in some of these positions, and take guys that are there that fell. So we're going to get one more tight end here, and then we'll have what I call a kind of a raffle pick. We can get a third quarterback if we want. I actually feel pretty good about our running back room, and I tend to stop at 5 most of the time, unless I did not get a quote-unquote anchor running back or running back in the first 2, maybe 3 rounds. But I feel pretty good about getting some points here. So it's really going to determine if we want, 8 wide receivers or a third quarterback, I think is where we're going to fall. I'm going to try and get Juwan Johnson here. That way I can pair Juwan and Olave up with Tyler Shuck. It's kind of the plan. Chig goes. I've got a lot of Chig. I really need to look and see how much I have of him now, like what percentage of my teams have him on it. Where he goes, 16, 17, 18, just tons of value. Athletic guy, could be an ascending offense. The news on him in camp is that he's, got a great rapport with, Cam Ward already. He might even be the second number 2 option in that offense, after Calvin Ridley. Who knows? He might be the number 3 if you want to put, Tyler Lockett in there. Depends on how you look at it. All right, coming around. So I'm considering Richardson here. I want Juwan. I could get both. I feel pretty good about my receiver room, if I'm being honest. You've got a 1, a 1, a 1, a 1. Call him a 3, a 2. Could be a 1. I just feel pretty confident in what's sitting there. I'm going to take Juwan Johnson. So let me explain why I went Juwan Johnson before Richardson. The guy here between my 2 picks already has 3 quarterbacks, so it's very unlikely he's going to take a 4th, unless he's really clueless. So, but you see, he took a tight end here. If I'd have took Richardson first, it's possible he took Johnson. So it just makes more sense. And I'll take Richardson. The upside of his running is great. If Shuck doesn't work out, he might work out. There's a little bit of option there. And then if you look, we do have Josh Downs, so it's another stack there. So it makes some sense. So now we've stacked our Indy person. We've stacked Juwan Johnson and Olave with a quarterback, and then we've got a super stack with 3 with Zay Flowers, Rashad Bateman, and Mark Andrews. So let's look at our team one more time, and then we'll see about getting into one more draft tonight. At quarterback, we've got Lamar Jackson, Tyler Shuck, Anthony Richardson. At running back, we've got Kyron Williams, Aaron Jones, Javonte Williams, Ray Davis, and Jalen Wright. At wide receiver, we've got Amon-Ra St. Brown, Drake London, Zay Flowers, Chris Olave, Josh Downs, Rashad Bateman, and Romeo Dobbs. And then at tight end, we got Mark Andrews, Mike Gesicki, and Juwan Johnson. I like the team. I don't know that I love it because we didn't get as many values, but I love the stacks. We have a little bit of a bring back on some of these teams. And I feel like we're very balanced in our team here. So I feel good. So let's do another puppy 2 tonight. It's starting to fill up a little bit more. Best Ball Mania is starting to continue to grow. It's not even half full yet, but this is really like where the season picks up for most average drafters is here in the back of July and really in August. So that's when things get kind of crazy. We'll see what pick we get here. Just FYI, again, if you're just joining or, you fast forwarded to this for whatever reason, this is Main Event Fantasy. My name is Nick, or Perfect 216 is kind of the call sign here, so to speak. We like drafting teams for fantasy football. We like talking fantasy football. We draft right here on Underdog Fantasy, where I think is the absolute best place to draft. I've drafted on the other, sites, DraftKings and all that, and nothing wrong with them. No offense to them, but I think Underdog is the cleanest and most consistent, site to draft on. I've made a lot of money here over the last 4 years, and I'm going to continue to do it. And I have a good time doing it. So if you're enjoying this, please like, subscribe, hit a notification button. Please share the stream. If you look into the description, I did put a link in there. So if you have never played Underdog before, you can click on the link. It'll take you there. You can sign up, and start drafting with us live. And then there's also a link to the stream here, which you can feel free to share at your leisure. And the love is appreciated. All right, we are at the 7, so we'll see what 7 brings us. It's interesting. The 6 picks before us are all non-badges, and I've talked about this before. Badge drafters typically are the ones who have drafted a lot of teams in their past, whether it's number of drafts they've done or amount of prize money or tournaments won kind of dictate having badges. And so badge drafters tend to draft a little bit more, I'm going to say they're a little more educated, give them an edge, so to speak. And the non-badge drafters are complete wild cards. So while it can help you because it allows, crazy things to happen and let fallers come to you, it also means you could get sniped on some players that you needed and you thought they'd fall to you. And then all of a sudden they're taking, 4 quarterbacks for no reason. So, all right. So we're at the 1-7. Gibbs goes. Pretty consistent draft so far. I really don't like McCaffrey at the 7. I like to see if I can push him later. I don't get a lot of Puka. I think we're going to go Puka here. I don't know why. The year Puka broke out, I identified him, took a little bit of him, but I didn't plant my flag like my gut told me, and I could have taken more of him, and I really wish I did. And now he's like a round 1 guy, and everyone loves him. I don't know that he's a round 1 guy to me. I think he's more of a round 2 guy, but I don't have a problem with where he goes. I just don't seem to get a lot of him because, I'd rather have Malik Neighbors usually in drafts. So he just doesn't seem to be my target. Achane goes at 14. Henry off the board at 15. James of Thrones. I see what you did there. James. Drake London goes. We won't be double tapping him again. London and Atlanta would have paired well with the playoff weeks with the Rams. So I do like to get London with Puka on occasion. AJ Brown goes. I was hoping to get Brown. We're going to go Lad McConkey. We're just, this draft is really just following ADP right now. It's nothing too crazy. You know, if you look at the board, how the board's fallen, it's really going in order, pretty much to a T. So, Servicing Crow did take Bucky a little earlier than normal. Bucky normally goes around, 22. So a few picks earlier than where he normally goes. Brock Bowers goes 21. It's interesting. I mentioned how drafts have changed. In May, Brock Bowers was going, pick 12, 13, 14, 15 pretty consistently. And as time has slid and the draft is, the NFL rookie draft is kind of, gotten further away from when that happened, a lot of the rookies started to change their, where they go. And they've started to push some of them down the draft board. Rice goes at 23. So this, I don't mean to be mean here, but this is what I mean, where they're not a regular drafter. They don't know what's going on. They might know Rashee Rice is a good player, and that's fine. But if they're watching the news, if they're aware, they would know that Rice just had this issue. He's going to go to jail. He's going to miss some time. So he wouldn't be a guy you select here in round 2. He should be falling. But instead they said, I don't know what's going on. I like Rashee Rice. I've heard he's good. He plays at a good team. I'll pick him. Well, take your $5, roll it up into a nice ball, throw it in the garbage. That's what you did. You just threw $5 into a garbage can. And if you're watching my stream here, I'm here to help you not throw $5 in the garbage can. I'd rather you put $5 into the money that I'm going to win. But no, seriously, if I can help, I absolutely want to help. And we're going to get Marvin Harrison here. I am getting a ton of Marvin Harrison this year. He is one of my most in-on players with respect to where he goes in drafts. I look at him and Malik Neighbors as being one and the same. He didn't have as good of a year as Neighbors did last year, but he profiled better. And, I think the Arizona Cardinals are a better offense. They have a better quarterback than the New York Giants do, unless Jackson Dart turns out to be the real deal at the end. You could argue that he's 2 rounds too late, and he should be a first-round pick, because last year he was going at the back end of the first round. I almost never got him last year, and worked out okay because he didn't have the greatest year for where he was drafted. But he could absolutely crush and break out this year. I think, the connection could be stronger. It's year 2. His profile is great. And so I'm going to get a ton of Marvin Harrison. And, for those of you that might be Ohio State fans, OH, type an IO in the chat if you'd like. I am originally from Northeast Ohio, and so I do have a slight edge to the Ohio fan base here. D. Holla, or Dalla, I guess is what it is. Takes score at George Kittle. All right, I think Worthy's going to continue to rise because of what's going on with Rashee Rice. So I'll take him a little earlier than ADP here. I have a ton of Ted McMillan. I'm in on him. I'm decent. I have a good amount of Metcalf. I'm not that in on DJ Moore this year. I think they've got a ton of weapons. I don't even know that he's going to end up there on number 1, or he could even be traded halfway through the year if he's unhappy with his role. So who knows? Where Worthy with the Rashee Rice news, he could absolutely be the smash number 1 guy that you need on a really good offense, who, by the way, can win you a week because he's the kind of guy that can catch an 80-yard bomb and go to the house. He doesn't need a lot of volume to do his job. So I love our wide receiver start here. Now we just got to see what we can pull from the running backs, what falls to us. And like I said earlier, running back this year, I feel like there's a lot more value to that can come to you in the later rounds. So I don't feel like we're missing out. It's a lot harder and almost impossible to make up wide receiver depth if you miss it early, but you can make it up in the running back room. Remember, you only need to start 2 running backs. You have to start 3 wide receivers. You can start up to 4 because one of those can be a flex. So you can't miss on wide receivers. I shouldn't say you can't miss. You don't want to be that. So I like these guys. I like the value here. But I am going to get my first running back in Alvin Kamara. With Kamara, on an offense, we don't know how good they're going to be. The quarterback situation's a little bit up in the air. But he's still Alvin Kamara. He still catches passes. He's still an alpha. Every year, no matter what people say about his age, he continues to put up fantasy points because of the way they use him in the passing game. It's a team that plays in a dome at home, so they play a lot of warm weather games, and so the value here is good. I don't have a ton of him, but I like where he's going in drafts. I would have said Mixon, I would take him ahead of him before Houston signed Nick Chubb. And as a Cleveland, fan, shout out to the Brownies out there, the dog pound. But as a Cleveland fan, we know Nick Chubb is a grinder. He's going to come back. He's 2 years now from his injury. They didn't sign him for nothing in Houston. So I think he's going to get more touches, which is going to cut back on Mixon's usage. And CJ Stroud, Ohio State, OH, is an absolute dog, and I think he's going to bounce back from last year. And they have a lot of weapons in the passing game too. So I don't know that you're going to see the same usage out of Joe Mixon this year. So I tend to only get him when he falls. Jennings goes at 63. Laporta at 64. Harvey goes. So I'm pretty okay with all of this. I am going to keep the running back grabbing going. We'll take Henderson. I don't have a lot of him because it seems to me whenever I'm drafting, I end up taking some of these last wide receivers here in this range. Addison a little bit, a lot of Judy. I mean, keep in mind he is a number 1 on a team in Cleveland where he had 1,000 yards last year. Well over 1,000, 1,229. Didn't even have a lot of touchdowns. Still scored 200 fantasy points. They didn't add anybody. They actually lost wide receivers, in their room, and they're going to have to throw. I know, who even knows what's going on with Judkins? What if their running game stinks? If their defense has injuries, and they're going to have to play from behind. As a Cleveland fan, they're going to have to feed Judy whether they want to or not. He's going to be the one. So with that same rationale with where Tillman goes, I am hugely in on Tillman. He seems like a free pick, and he's going to be the number 2 to start the year out unless something changes, and showed flashes last year before he got hurt. I think Tillman's one of my favorite sleepers in this draft, and I'm not saying that as the Browns fan, but I am someone who's seen him play, watched him a little bit in college. He's got a 6'3", big body receiver, a little bit of the opposite of Judy, and but he's got some athleticism. He's got an attitude, kind of a, no pun intended, a dog about him. So I'm telling you, where he's going in drafts is definitely a value. So if you need a receiver later in drafts, pro tip, grab him. All right, Myers goes. Jaden Reed, I got a bunch of him earlier in the year, and then I started to try and balance out the Matthew Golden, stuff here. Some of the running backs here I like I'm in on Swift this year. But I like Jaden Reed. He could be a good guy. He can be a guy that really helps you, win some weeks, spike weeks. He might be the number 1. There was news, I think it was back in early May, that said Jaden Reed was, the coaches were saying, He's taking a leadership role. We see him as the leader in the wide receiver room. It's all coach speak, but with them, they've had so much turmoil in that room, you really don't know, and it's up for grabs as far as I'm concerned. So he could be the guy. So you don't want to miss out on somebody like that. Rob Hollywood takes TJ Hawkinson at 87. Baker Mayfield goes. All right, Bo Nix goes. So Brian Robinson, I like him here. Like his value. It's a contract year. I've said this before on other streams. He wants to play for money, I'm sure, on an offense that's getting better. Look what they did last year. They tore it up. He is the red zone back primarily. He could get double-digit touchdowns, depending on if they want to continue to run, how much they want to risk Jaden, running the ball. So I just think he's a good selection with where he goes here. So far in our draft, we have no quarterbacks yet. At running back, we have Alvin Kamara, Travion Henderson, Brian Robinson Jr. At wide receiver, we have Puka Nacua, Lad McConkey, Marvin Harrison, Xavier Worthy, and Jaden Reed. And then at tight end, we do not have one yet. We got 7 picks before we're back on the clock here. Kind of swing this around so you can kind of see what's going on. Travis Kelce goes. That's it. So Kelce here goes at 97. It's a little bit, he was kind of going in the early 100s, late 100s, back half around 9, early around 10 sometimes. I really got to see where he pulls up. I don't want him to go ahead of Hawkinson, even though I think his value is higher than that. I would still take him in round 8 if it were me, depending on what I need. But we'll see how he rises over a period of time. Coleman goes, Purdy goes. Prescott goes. Okay. Got some options here. Oh, boy. I'm going to take Jaden Higgins here, and he'll be our 6th receiver rookie could be a good offense here. I really like our wide receiver room. Our running back room's okay. I almost took ETN. I would have been fine with that choice too. But taking Higgins gives me just another quarterback that opens down the road since we don't have one yet with Houston. So I'm okay with that too. Fields goes. Justin Fields is interesting because he could be the guy that wins it all for you. I mean, he's got the legs and he's going in round 9. If he's figured it out, if he makes a great connection with these receivers, who knows? Who's to say that this isn't the year that he, goes off in a new offense, new situation, new lease on life. And, if he's the same quarterback as Jaden Daniels with his skill set and he plays like Jaden Daniels, but you get him in round 9 and Jaden Daniels in round 3, just the value is huge, to get him instead. So, all right, Drake May coming up, Jared Goff, McCarthy. We have some quarterbacks coming up that we could stack with, if we really wanted to. We could use another running back. So May goes. I actually probably was going to take Drake May, but instead, I guess I'm going to go ahead and get J.K. Dobbins here. I have a ton of Najee Harris, and I feel great about it still. They have him on the non-football injury list because he had an eye injury, I don't know what they called it. We can read this off. He had an eye injury during 4th of July with a fireworks mishap. We're queued up the video, back it up, Terry. But, they don't think he's going to remain in this list long. He'll be back resume practicing soon. So I think this is good for Hampton because he'll get more reps in. But, I think they're both going to eat this year. The Chargers love to run that, the way they run their offense. They want to run the ball clearly. They went out and got Najee Harris on a 1-year deal. And Najee's been reliable, sturdy, stable. And then you've got a rookie who's got a great profile. I think they'll use them both. I'm going to have a lot of Najee this year, and I'm okay with that. I'd rather be wrong there than not have enough of him if that's what their offense wants to do. Excuse me. We're coming back around. We still don't have any quarterbacks. We've got 4 running backs and 6 wide receivers. We do have some of our quarterback stack partners coming around, so we're probably going to start to look to that here. We can get Herbert or Love to pair up with McConkey and Jaden Reed. So I think we're going to go this route. We'll see what comes to us. B-Dubs here doesn't have a quarterback, so he could grab one if he felt so compelled. And he does. He got Love. So we're 2 more picks away. We're hoping that Herbert hangs on and that we are able to snag him for our first quarterback. And we will. So we'll take Justin Herbert, pair him up with Ladd McConkey. We feel good about that as we, continue down this road of building out our squad here. The other thing about the Chargers offense is week 17, their matchup is against Houston. And when you look at our team, we do have Jaden Higgins on Houston, so we have a little bit of a bring back already, which is kind of nice. So kind of got that week 17 correlation built in a little bit there. So that feels good. There are some Chargers players we can do additional stacking with if we want. But we'll see what the draft gives us here. And we'll just keep running. Running. Colston Loveland goes. Trevor Lawrence goes. I've said this before. I like Trevor Lawrence this year. I'm not getting enough of him. I think mostly because I want to pair him with Brian Thomas. And I've been getting a lot of picks in the front half or middle of drafts and not as many in the back this year. So I'm not getting as much Brian Thomas, and I will not pick him in the first round. I want him in round 2. And some people take him in the back half of round 1, and I don't know. I just don't get enough. I may have to force it later on just to make sure I get enough share of him. All right, so we're here. Michael Penix is available to Bryce. We're probably going to wait a little bit on our next quarterback. I did say I wanted more Hollywood, but we could use another running back. We'll take Ray Davis here. That's our 5th running back. I think this wide receiver squad is so strong, I'm only going to have 7 of them. I may end up with 6 running backs. I'm not really sure. We'll see how things play out. Maybe this 5 is enough. I don't love our running back room, but we do have a rookie in there. We have a vet for a floor. We've got we've got guys that are going to get touches, but I don't love it. But I do love our wide receiver room. There's my man Tillman. I think he's a league winner this year. I really, really do. I think he could be that guy. Could be the guy you need. We're going to look for Matt Stafford here, I think, coming around. We want to pair up Puka with him, get another pairing on the quarterback there. I think that'll be kind of the goal. We do need another quarterback. If we don't get him, you know, we're out of quarterback stacking partners, so we really kind of need to just kind of pull the trigger on him here. Let's see what Serving Crow does. He goes Bigsby. All right, so we're going Stafford here. We've got our second quarterback now. Feels good. We've now paired up our top 2 wide receivers with their quarterbacks, so that's kind of nice. We don't have any bringbacks for our Rams stack because they play Atlanta. We don't have any Atlanta players yet. Doesn't mean we won't get one. And for the Chargers, we do have a bringback because we do have Jaden Higgins, from Houston, and they play the Chargers in Week 17. I'm not opposed. We don't have any tight ends here. If Kyle Pitts comes and we get that bring back, I'll absolutely take it. No problem. I think he would probably be my target, if I'm being honest, at this point in the draft. So we'll see if we get that lucky and he falls and it kind of just falls into our lap. We do have a couple teams here, Rob Hollywood and Dalla, who only have one tight end. They're more likely to want to pick one here. Samson goes, Strange goes, so he didn't take them, which I like that. James of Thrones only has 4 wide receivers, so his team is in trouble. You can't dig out of your wide receiver hole most likely at this stage of the draft. You needed a lot more help. We just got to hope Dalla passes on Pitts, and he did. So we're gonna get Kyle Pitts. This is kind of nice. These 2 drafts have really come to us nicely. We haven't had to reach too much, and the stacking partners and the bringbacks have been good. This has felt like a really nice, smooth draft. So I like it a lot. I like it a lot. Yeah, that was my best. That was my best impression of Ace Ventura. All right. So we're definitely going to get 2 tight ends here. We're going to get 1 more wide receiver. And then we'll decide if we want to go a 3rd quarterback or a 6th running back. Is Herbert and Stafford enough juice to get us in points? Or do we need a little bit more? It just kind of depends. Both of these guys can get their tight end stacked later, so I'll probably stack a Chargers and a Rams tight end at the end, honestly, and just make those my 2 tight ends. So I'm probably going to find my last receiver here, if I'm being honest. Whoops. Did not mean to do that. Although I do like Atwell. I'm just realizing we're on the clock. I'm just going to get Kate Otten, and then I'll grab one of the other guys later. Kate Otten will be our 2nd tight end. He's going to have some consistency in an offense that likes to throw the ball with Baker Mayfield. They had some good things going last year. I think he's going to have a role in the red zone. And so as long as he stays healthy, he's going to get some points this year. So I feel good about that. So now that we're at 2 quarterbacks, 5 running backs, 6 wide receivers, 2 tight ends, we need 1 more tight end, 1 more wide receiver, and then we'll call it a wild card, so to speak. I think we're going to put Tyler Conklin on this team at the end to pair with Herbert. I'm going to go ahead and just get Tutu Atwell, a second stacker with Puka, who stacks with Matthew Stafford. If I'm not going to get the third quarterback and these guys have to pull their own weight, might as well get the extra stacks, assuming that these guys are, they crush it this year and it's enough to move on with just these two quarterbacks. Then why not have a couple of pass catchers to go with them? And so that way, if they're that good, they gotta be bringing somebody with them from their team, right? So I think that means we're gonna end up getting one more running back. Let's just look at the quarterbacks real quick to see if there's anybody we might consider. Richardson's there, Rodgers is there. We don't really have any Pittsburgh players. We don't have any Indy players, so there's no real stacking potential. Rodgers goes anyway. They don't have to bring back. We don't have New Orleans players. We don't have Giants. Cleveland, I'm out on right now with quarterbacks. It's a mess. So, yeah, it doesn't look like quarterback's the way to go. So we're going to grab a running back, I think, here with our next pick to go six RBs. And then we'll finish it off with Tyler Conklin to double stack the Chargers. And then we'll be done for the night. I like how these drafts turned out. I feel pretty good about it. Hopefully you guys are learning something through these drafts. I know I repeat certain components of this. If you guys have questions, come on here live with us. Chat, ask questions, give your suggestions. Love to hear them. Tell me what's working for you. If you've never drafted before, great. I'm happy to help you. Underdog is not in all states. It is in most states. But most of you can play if that's what if you're interested in. All right. I tend to like getting the same running backs here when I get late, so I want to mix it up a little bit. I'm going to get Miles Sanders. I don't have a lot of him. When you're going the sixth running back, I like to mix it up, just for variety's sake and to make sure that I'm not overly concentrated on the same guys in this range, because you're just taking shots in the dark, right? What if he's that guy? He's on a decent offense. He could be, somebody gets hurt or, he has a bigger role than you expect, and he could open you up for some points and some big weeks potentially. And it's a round 17 pick. The risk is so low. We'll end up with Tyler Conklin. It's interesting with the Chargers. They have 3 capable tight ends. I can see, Will Dissly taking more, than even Conklin, or this. I don't even really know this guy, the rookie. I don't know much about him, if I'm being honest. And I know most about most. There are other tight ends I like that are still on the board. But the value in round 18, if I can stack, that adds increased value and raises the ceiling of what my team can be versus if I just took Pat Freiermuth just to have a guy with no correlation there. A lot less likely to help the team. So, all right, so team's full. Let's take a look at it and recap it. We have a 2-6-7-3 build. We have Justin Herbert, Matthew Stafford at the quarterback, Alvin Kamara, Travion Henderson, Brian Robinson Jr., J.K. Dobbins, Ray Davis, Miles Sanders at running back. Wide receiver, we have Puka Nacua, Ladd McConkey, Marvin Harrison, Xavier Worthy, Jaden Reed, Jaden Higgins, Tutu Atwell at wide receiver. And then at tight end, we have Kyle Pitts, K. Dotton, and Tyler Conklin at tight end. Conklin and McConkey are stacked up with Justin Herbert. And then with Matthew Stafford, we have Puka Nacua and Tutu Atwell stacked up. So we do have a bring back here with Houston against the Rams in week 17. So that's nice. Houston with the Chargers. Sorry, not the Rams. And then we do have Kyle Pitts with the Rams bring back because they play Atlanta. So feel really good. I think the teams tonight have been pretty solid. Nothing crazy has happened. If anybody watches this, jumps on here, just want to say thanks again for just taking a moment, sharing your time with me, watching the videos. If you like the content, please throw a like on there, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell if you want to be alerted when I go live. I will go live usually around 10 o'clock to midnight time frame, Central Time. So you can guys come draft with me. In the description down below, you'll see my link to Underdog. If you want to click on there and draft with us, we can do that. You can join up in our lobbies. We'll have a good time. Get in the chat, ask questions, interact with us and others. We'll have a lot of fun. Thanks again. I appreciate you supporting the channel. This is Main Event Fantasy, and hope everyone has a great rest of the week. And we'll try and see y'all tomorrow or this weekend.